Ryanair complains about airport fees. KLM announces route to Cardiff. The airline has announced to yet again serve the Amsterdam route. Ryanair warns Cardiff about possible withdrawal as disagreement on airport fees escalates. Foundation for terminal expansion completed ahead of schedule. Following the announcement that British Airways will be expanding its maintenance base at Cardiff Airport, construction works for a new hangar capable of handling widebody aircraft has started. Airport is rumored to sign a new deal with a major US carrier, giving Cardiff a direct US route. Ryanair closes Cardiff routes effective immediately. Airport management announces the construction of a brand new general and private aviation terminal. Terminal expansion remains on time. New US route confirmed. The airline operating the route will be Continental Airlines. The Dutch low-cost carrier V-Bird declared bankruptcy as part of a wider reorganization of TUI UK's operations. Britannia has been rebranded as Thomson Fly. The airline unfortunately has also decided to close its Cardiff base. The new general aviation terminal was officially opened and will handle all private and general aviation in the future, as well as be the new home of the Cardiff Flight School. Northwest Airlines will be opening a new route to Cardiff by next year, after Ryanair had ceased all operations at Cardiff following a dispute over airport fees. The airline has now, in a surprise move, announced that it, effective immediately, will be returning to Cardiff after a new deal with Cardiff Airport was agreed upon.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Hello and welcome back to Cardiff Airport. It's been some months since we last visited, which is quite visible when overlooking the building site of the new terminal expansion. The exterior has by now been completed and work is now focusing on the interior. But this is of course not the only thing that has changed at the airport since our last visit. The main terminal has, for example, finally been upgraded with a 5th jet bridge, which should improve and speed up operations over here. But let's get going on our tour around the airport on this early spring morning. Given the early hours, some planes are still inactive, but quite a few aircraft are already being prepared for their first flight of the day. One of them is this Bombardier Dash 8 Q400 of Flybe that arrived yesterday evening from Edinburgh and in 20 minutes is scheduled to return to the Scottish capital. Scheduled to leave 5 minutes earlier is the CRJ 700 of Lufthansa that, after having stayed at Cardiff Airport overnight, will be heading to Munich once boarding is completed. Another overnighter is this Avro 100 of SN Brussels Airlines, after the airline has adjusted its timetable. In the past, the airline would be arriving around this time at the airport, but with the reworked schedule, the aircraft already arrived yesterday evening and still has plenty of time before its return flight, which is why preparations are only just beginning to pick up. Another sleepyhead, so to say, is this Airbus A320 of Aer Lingus that has been deployed on the route between Cardiff and Dublin this morning. But with a departure time of 7 o'clock in the morning, things are still rather quiet. A bit more activity can be observed around this Boeing 737-500 of Air France that is scheduled to depart in 50 minutes time to the airline's main hub at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. Already 5 minutes delayed is this Airbus A320 of British Airways on its rotation to London Heathrow, but a no-show has messed up this turnaround as the checked-in luggage will have to be offloaded first before the aircraft can get on its way to London. The last few pieces of luggage are currently being loaded into the cargo hold of this KLM 737-700 that in 15 minutes will be heading to the Dutch airline space at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. And next to the Flying Dutchman is the 737-500 of Lufthansa getting ready for its first flight out to Frankfurt. Currently, some last-minute ordered special meals are being loaded, and then in about 10 minutes, the aircraft will be pushed out of the ramp. Before we head out to the remote stands, it is time for a quick news update. Transavia to open route. Following last year's collapse of V-Bird and the successive closure of the Maastricht route, the Cardiff Airport management has been working on re-establishing the route. After intense negotiations, it's now been announced that Transavia will establish a new connection to Cardiff Airport, however, from its base at Eindhoven Airport instead of Maastricht. The route is expected to start from July. New British Airways maintenance base opened. After a year-long construction, the new BA maintenance base at Cardiff Airport could be opened with only 2 months delay. The new extended facility will enable British Airways to service and maintain a large variety of aircraft of external customers and the airline's own Boeing 777 and 747 fleet, as well as continue to service their narrow-body fleet. More charter traffic expected. Following last year's base closure of Britannia at Cardiff Airport, it's now been announced that both Thomas Cook and First Choice are expected to start charter operations from Cardiff this summer. Route closure. British Airways announced today that the airline's route to Gatwick will be closed due to falling demand. However, frequencies on the airline's London Heathrow route are expected to be increased. Operational change. Due to shortages in the Scandinavian Airlines fleet, the airline's Copenhagen route will as of now be operated by the airline's subsidiary Nordic Aviation. Just arrived on a transfer flight from Bournemouth and taxiing towards the maintenance area is the 747-200 of European. The airline has been hired in for a series of special charter flights, which is why spotters at the airport can expect to see this rather rare sight at the airport a few more times over the next few months, before the airline finally will be retiring the aircraft. Still sitting quietly in the remote stand is this Embraer ERJ-170 of Cirrus Airlines. The crew has just been brought to the aircraft that later this morning will start on its first stint on its way to Mannheim City Airport with a stop at London City Airport on its way to Germany. Currently in the care of technicians is the 757-200 of Monarch, which late yesterday evening arrived from Mallorca and this afternoon will be heading to Las Palmas. In pushback and therefore almost ready to go is this Embraer ERJ-145 of British Airways, which will be heading to Manchester. Following last year's turmoil between Ryanair and the airport, the airline decided late last year to return to Cardiff and has established a larger base of operations with 5 aircraft stationed at the airport. And so we find the 737-200 of Ryanair that came in last night from Rome and now is running a little late for its first flight of the day, which will bring the aircraft to Malaga in Spain. Next, we have another Ryanair 737-200, which came in yesterday from Alicante and today will start its tour with a flight to Bergamo in northern Italy. Now let's head even further out into the field over to our GAT and the maintenance area. Taxiing towards the runway is the 737-200 of Ryanair that is flying between Cardiff and Dublin today. In the cargo ramp right now, and with just under 1 hour to go before its scheduled departure, is the 747-200F of Saudia Cargo. The aircraft arrived on its regular route from Liège and will be flying back to Saudi Arabia later this morning. Things seem quiet today at the General Aviation Terminal, but it looks like the Cardiff Flight School is scheduled to do some rounds this morning with their Cessna 172. Over at the BA maintenance facility, we find another 747-200 of European that arrived a little earlier than its sister plane and now is being taken care of by BA maintenance crews in preparation of a larger inspection in preparation of its upcoming charter flights. But before the 747 can be pulled into the hangar, the maintenance round on this 777-200 of British Airways needs to be completed. As soon as its maintenance has been completed, the aircraft will be returning to London Heathrow and re-enter active service. While the new terminal extension is still under construction, some parts of the apron are already being used, and also the airport's own new maintenance facility has been opened for business. So over here we find a British Airways ERJ145 that later this morning will be deployed on the route to Glasgow. And then, as our last aircraft of today, we have this Boeing 737-200 of Ryanair that has been in maintenance overnight and now will be pulled over to a remote stand in preparation for its first flight of the day going to Pisa in Italy. Now that is all for this morning. If you liked the video, then hit that like button, and if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? With that, see you in the next episode of Cardiff.